Welcome to the Weird and Witchy Shit podcast. I'm Kristy, your basic witch guide, here to make the mystical a little bit more approachable. In today's astrology lesson, we are talking all things Capricorn and how that manifests as a sun sign, a moon sign, and a rising sign. It has been so long since I did a podcast episode. I'm way late on the Capricorn 101 episode. Since Aries season last year, I've been pretty consistent at getting my astrology videos out round about the time that the sun enters that particular sign. And we are way late for Capricorn. Technically though, we are still in Capricorn season, and hopefully I get this edited and uploaded before we enter Aquarius season, but just expect this to be the kind of time scale for the foreseeable future. I'm probably not going to put many of the tarot episodes up until I get a little bit more ahead of myself, just got stuff going on, but I'm trying to be consistent with the astrology episodes and getting them up roughly in the right kind of time frame, and then in the end of February, beginning of March, I'm really going to start firing through those tarot episodes and stuff. Just, with it being Christmas and New Year, I'm also getting married in 30 days time, so that's taken up a lot of my energy and stuff, so all exciting things happening, but the podcast and YouTube just had to take a slight, not even a pause, just a little bit of a slowdown. We've all only got so much energy that we can exert, so I can't be so spread thinly, so something had to be put on the back burner a little bit, and it had to be this. But fear not, episodes will be coming. Also, if you're watching the video version of this, it's the 14th of January and I still have my Christmas tree up, and I don't want to hear a word about it. I was going to take it down the other day, and then Martin, my partner, was nah, it's fucking depressing, it's miserable outside, let's just give ourselves a little bit of joy and keep the Christmas tree up for a little bit longer. The Virgo side of me was I don't know about that, but then the kind of rebellious Sagittarius side of me was you know what, fuck it, you're absolutely right, society will not tell me when I can and can't have my Christmas tree up. When Taylor Swift said we can leave the Christmas lights up till January, I said nah, we leave them up till March, baby. Anyway, let's get on with this Capricorn episode. So, Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac, with Capricorn season starting on December 22nd and ending January 19th. This sign is represented by the goat, or a goat fish. And every time I say goat fish, I cannot help but think of the janitor from Scrubs when he's now French, and I'm goldfish for kids. Capricorn falls at the beginning of winter, making it a cardinal sign, so it starts that season off, and cardinal signs tend to be motivated, driven, initiators, very forward moving, kind of leading the way type energy. Capricorn rules over the 10th house in the astrological chart, which is the house associated with public image, social status, your aspirations, your work and career. Now, I know I always end these Astrology 101 episodes talking about what types of job might suit your rising sign, and if you've been listening along, you will know that your rising sign will of course always fall in your first house, because it's all about you. It's the house of the self. The reason that I say that career might be impacted by your rising sign is because this can indicate kind of how you move through the physical world, what your persona is. And for a lot of us, our career, or the careers that we kind of lean towards, are a big part of our persona in this physical realm. My personal school of thought is that the rising sign is a lot deeper than your persona, and it can point to your life path and the reason that your soul is actually here on earth, participating in this experience as a human being. So part of this might be, of course, pointing to the type of job that you might be drawn to, or the kind of purpose that you're here to fulfill, or the way that you will be kind of drawn to fulfilling that purpose, if that makes sense. I will use myself as a very quick, super basic example without getting too deep into it. So my 10th house is ruled by Libra, which at face value could indicate career aspirations that are linked to beauty, harmony, love, and partnerships, very much working in partnership with people, or for other people, or kind of this you know, we've already did our Libra 101 episodes. It's all about kind of the other person. But my first house, my rising sign is Sagittarius, so this will affect how I approach my career and my aspirations. So possibly this would be with more of a philosophical approach, ideas of spirituality, expansion, maybe even travel. Again, these episodes act as just an introduction basic 101 guide, and that's kind of the reason that I'm putting them out here, and using the rising sign to kind of see what kind of jobs and careers that you might be drawn to is kind of for a little bit of fun, obviously, or we would have every single Sagittarius person being a yoga teacher, for example, which is of course not always the case. Many things are going to affect this. For greater understanding of career in a birth chart, I would be looking at the 2nd house, the 6th house, the 10th house, and I'd also take into account the 1st house, all for slightly different reasons. I can get into this a little bit deeper, and I do kind of plan on doing more deep dive episodes once I've got through all the Astrology 101 episodes, so that I can, maybe I'll do an episode breaking all the houses down and then blending them all together. So one of my kind of big kind of intentions this year is to get a lot deeper into my astrology practice. I would in no way say that I am advanced at all. I would say I was probably intermediate level, beginning stages of intermediate level, which is why the content that I post here on YouTube is kind of aimed at beginner level, because I feel you can kind of teach the person who's slightly under you on where they are on their journey. So as I kind of grow my own astrology knowledge, then I am going to be sharing more of that knowledge here. I went off on a tangent. I feel I've just got a lot to say because I've not chatted to you in a long while. I'm just going to be a yapper today. Anyway, the 10th house is all about higher aspirations and achievements, notoriety, and the legacy that you'll leave behind, and even things like fame as well. This house also covers themes of authority, which is your own authority and authority figures in your life. So when it comes to parental figures, this house usually speaks to the father figure, or the more male kind of masculine parental figure that's in your life, and also your experience of fathering. And again, it doesn't always necessarily mean man father kind of thing. That could be the more kind of structured caretaker type energy as well. Whereas in the exact opposite to Capricorn in the astrological chart is Cancer, and that deals with more kind of maternal, nurturing figures. Capricorn is an earth sign and its ruling planet is Saturn, which is a planet of structure, responsibilities and repeating cycles. The associated tarot card for Capricorn is the Devil, which is the card of addictions, habits, limiting beliefs, negative ties and our shadow self. How very ominous. Some keywords strongly associated with Capricorn are ambitious, disciplined, practical, resourceful, dependable, down to earth, realistic, pessimistic, cynical, rigid, selfish and stubborn. Capricorn as your sun sign. So as we've said before, your sun sign is who you are at your core. So it's kind of like your true essence, it's your ego, and also I would consider it to be like if your rising sign is your physical self, like you on this earth, your sun sign is like who you are at your core. So you could say that's like your soul or the essence of you, like the truest kind of energy of you. I heard somebody describe it in a really cool way and I can't remember who described it in this way. It might have been Delena from the Moon Matters podcast, and she says like the your sun sign is your hardware and then everything else is the things that you download onto it. So that's actually like, I feel like really helpful of thinking it that way. Say for instance, like your sun sign is either an iPhone, an iPad, a MacBook, a walkie-talkie, a fucking whatever it is, right? And you can like download loads of different stuff onto it. Let's just use like the iPad for an example. Say I'm like a Virgo and my Virgo friend here, we both have like iPads, Virgo iPads that is like us. That's like our like who we are. And then she downloads a bunch of shit on it, I download a bunch of shit on it, and it makes them completely different from each other. It doesn't change the fact that they're both iPads, but their uses and the things and the way that they like work and like the different apps that's on them and all that are going to be completely different. So that's why like you can look at them both and go, oh yeah, like they're both like iPads, and then you look at them and they're completely different. Delena did explain this a whole lot better than what I'm saying, so if none of this is making any sense, it's not the analogy's fault, it's me. If someone has Capricorn as their sun sign, that means that they were born between December 22nd and January 19th. So Capricorns are renowned for their determination and their ambition. If a Capricorn has a goal in mind, they will work tirelessly until they get there. And this kind of like hard work is a real meaningful thing for Capricorns. They don't want their desires to be just handed to them. They want to put in the hard graft. They really want to like earn their achievements. They want to put in that time. They want to put in that effort. They want to put in their blood, sweat and tears into a project. Otherwise, it's just not going to feel satisfying for them if they haven't really like grafted for something. If you can hear Bikini licking herself in the background, I really hope the mic's not putting it up, but I've been like trying to like stop her every 2 minutes, but cats are just ungovernable, so like it is what it is. It's her house, she just lets me live here. The words glutton for punishment come to mind every time I think of Capricorn. So they will almost never take the easy route in life, and they might have the attitude of nothing easy is worth having. Kind of like there has to be this hustle and there has to be like some level of difficulty to life kind of thing, and not even necessarily in like a, oh, woe is me, they like to complain about how hard their life is kind of way. More in like a traditional old man kind of way. Like, they're likely to see the world in a more serious lens and believe that success and accomplishments should be earned through hard work, authenticity and structure. Capricorns are very realistic, and that doesn't mean that they don't dream big, because they absolutely do have big dreams and big goals. It's just that they're more likely to have a structured plan of action on exactly how they're going to attain those things, rather than like, fuck it, I'll just visualise all day, which we can see with some of the other signs where they've got all the dreams and the big goals and it never kind of leaves their headspace. Capricorn is not like that. They're very practical in thinking, this is where I want to get to, this is where I am, what actual steps can I take to get me there every single day. Capricorn energy is also often very misunderstood as being not very spiritual and being all about the earth and what's tangible, and I really don't think that that's true at all, because Capricorns can have a very spiritual side to them. They're just more likely to take the more kind of structured approach to spirituality. So this might look like being part of an organised religion or following a more traditional spiritual path. They are more likely to want to know the how, the why, the history of their chosen spiritual path. And then once they like make sense of it in their head, whatever this religion or spirituality looks like to them, then they can be really dedicated and very like involved in their spiritual practices. And then they might even be quite regimented, like type of person who would maybe be like, okay, I wake up every morning and I meditate and I do 50 sun salutations every single morning because that's part of my practice. Or somebody who wakes up every morning and goes, okay, like I smoke cleanse, then I drink my moon water and that's my practice. Or I go to church every single Sunday and that's my practice. They're more likely to be quite regimented in the things that they do. Or say for instance, like they want to get into psychic development and stuff, rather than just being like, I'll do these like woo-woo approaches, like I'll meditate here and there. They might be the type of person who seeks out like a school or a class that they can go to, or finds a really structured learning plan online. Like, again, taking those like logical steps, even if the thing that they want isn't quote unquote logical. And all these traits are very positive, but as we know, all of the signs have a more shadowy side, and Capricorns, unfortunately, can be very negative Nancy's, and they can have a tendency to usually unintentionally do kind of like judge people if they don't do things in what they perceive as the correct way, which to someone who's a little bit less traditional, a little bit less structured, a little bit more free-flowing, they might feel like Capricorns are kind of like dulling their spark a little bit. And like I said, it's not normally an intentional thing to kind of cause harm and cause upset. It's more like that Capricorn has like the energy of a really strict granddad who does love you and want the best of you, but also might be kind of like judging your clothes and your career and what the fuck, you're 22 years old and you're still unmarried, like back in my day. And remember, we all have Capricorn somewhere in our chart, so I'm not only calling out those who have it as their sun sign, I'm calling us all out collectively. Look to where you have Capricorn in your natal chart, and maybe you are a real dick in that area of your life. Capricorn rules my second house, and I will neither confirm nor deny. Some famous Capricorn sons: Elvis Presley, who has the same birthday as my mother, Jim Carrey, Mac Miller, Jeff Bezos, Zayn Malik, Louis Tomlinson, Dolly Parton, Denzel Washington, LeBron James, and Nicolas Cage. Capricorn as your moon sign. So your moon sign is your inner world and your emotions. It's a lot more than that. It's like your subconscious, it's your dreams, blah, blah, blah. But for the sake of today's episode, let's keep it simple. It's your inner world and your emotions. If someone's moon sign is in Capricorn, this means that the moon was in the sign of Capricorn at the time that they were born, and this changes every 2.5 days. Those with a Capricorn moon tend to be quite reserved with their emotions. You're not really likely to see like big displays of emotional outbursts, and they are likely to be quite level-headed people. Not always though, because of course other like aspects and areas of the chart are going to have their say, but typically they can be quite level-headed. My fiance actually has Capricorn as his moon sign, and I would describe him as a very emotional person, but he also does have Scorpio as his sun sign and Cancer as his rising sign, so what chance did he have really? In general though, the energy of Capricorn might be a bit more controlled, especially when it comes to how they express their feelings and who they express their feelings to. They just have to be kind of super careful that this doesn't evolve into emotional detachment. As I said, the ruling planet for Capricorn is Saturn, so our good pal Cronus. So if you want to know a little bit about him, I have a whole episode dedicated to his mythology, and I love the mythology as a way to connect with the deities and then with the Capricorn energy as well. It just kind of like pieces it all together really nicely for me. I will link that episode in the description for you. But essentially, Saturn is all about discipline, structure, seriousness, and we've also spoke about time, cycles and patterns. And this is where the Devil Tarot card comes into it too. It's that Saturn energy there. It's these cycles or things that we are chained to, the devil that we've not yet freed ourselves from. This can be like smaller scale, like earthly things, like maybe being a smoker and being really unable to kick that habit, or maybe like bigger patterns and bigger themes kind of re-emerge time and time again in your life, and possibly even from previous lifetimes depending on your school of thought. With the moon in Capricorn, these things might manifest in the internal world as negative thought patterns or holding on to old beliefs, but kind of like masking under the guise of rationality. So maybe the type of thought like, well, this is the way things have always been, so this is the way things will always be, and that's what the evidence suggests. So they can kind of get like, keep themselves like a little bit stuck almost. Nobody is doomed because they have a certain placement in their natal chart, of course not, but I'll be honest, Capricorn moon does seem like a real tough one, okay? All of the signs are beautiful in their own way, but honestly, man, Capricorn moon is a big fat L. Of course, I'm kidding. Mostly kidding. There are, of course, some very positive aspects to having Capricorn moon, because these people are very loyal, they're very dedicated, and they really, really value respect and honesty, and they likely have very high ideals for themselves and for other people, which can make them excellent leaders. They kind of can bring everyone up with them because they are so dedicated and they are so like driven. If you're around them, like that might like rub off on other people a little bit. They're really good at like bringing everyone up with them. So all of this paired with that classic Capricorn wisdom means that they have the possibility to go really, really far in life. And although Capricorn moon can feel like a pretty difficult card to be dealt, the opportunities there for self-development and true soul growth is really unmatched. And that's the thing with the more difficult placements. They don't mean that you're doomed. They're just kind of places that you can grow from. And I think, like, again, a big part of the soul's journey as to why you're here. Man, I'm an Aries moon. Like, my emotions are like real arseholes at times. Like, you know, but I'm still mostly fine. Some famous Capricorn moons are Bryan Cranston, David Tennant, Ashley Tisdale, Sarah Jessica Parker, Judi Dench, Rupert Grint, Chris Tucker, Kourtney Kardashian, and I feel like it really shows that she's a Capricorn moon, Amy Winehouse, and Freddie Mercury. Capricorn as your rising sign. So if someone has Capricorn as their rising sign, this is the sign that was rising over the eastern horizon at the very moment that they were born, and this changes every 2 hours. This sign is also what determines the structure for the rest of your chart. So your rising sign will always rule your first house, the house of the self, and then in order of the signs, your other house rulers will be determined. Meaning if Capricorn rules the first house, Aquarius will rule your second house, Pisces will rule your third house, and Aries will rule your fourth house, and so on and so forth. Your rising sign also determines your chart ruler. For Capricorn rising, this would be Saturn. So all those real fun Saturn traits are going to play a big role in your chart, possibly. So we did speak about the rising sign already. Very brief overview. Physical body, persona, the way others view you, and the lens in which you view the world. I also associate rising sign with your life path, as it's the moment that your spiritual self, your sun sign, met your physical self, the rising sign, and then I believe there's a reason that my Virgo soul, my sun sign, is going through life in this Sagittarius physical body. If you're a Capricorn rising, I believe that there is a reason why Capricorn is the vessel that you're scooting around Earth in, you know? So that's why I think it can point to your path here on life, and might indicate what type of career you might be drawn to. Again, not a comprehensive look at career in the birth chart, just an idea of what you might be drawn to. I see Capricorn risings seeking out careers where they can be really meticulous and methodical, which personally I think would be 2 great names for cats. Meticulous and methodical. Me and Martin always says if we got 2 other cats, we would call them Mischief and Malice. Maybe if we get 4, Mischief, Malice, meticulous and methodical. Anyway, I think Capricorn risings would thrive in something like being an architect, which kind of takes years of dedication and real like graft before the final project all comes together. So I think they would really thrive in doing this kind of work. I can also see them making really great teachers or professors, because they will have a lot of wisdom to pass on. And I feel like they could also create lesson plans that are logical and useful for people. They could also thrive in creative roles if like there was like structure to the creativity, I feel. So things like being the director of a movie. I think if a Capricorn rising was in charge of something like that, like there would be way less errors, there would be like way less plot holes. They'd be very good at making everything seem very realistic. Again, always depends on other areas of the chart, but Capricorn risings probably approach their career in an earthly, well thought out, realistic and disciplined way. And of course your rising sign is thought to be your physical body, so those with a Capricorn ascendant might share these kinds of features. So kind of chiseled bone structure, or at least prominent features, and they can look kind of stern and serious. They might appear older than they are, or present themselves in a more like mature way. Or they might have this kind of timeless look to them, and by that I mean they would kind of like fit in any time period. There's like a lot of chat right now about like iPhone face. I feel like Capricorn rising would be whatever the opposite of iPhone face is. Like, you'd look at them and you'd be like, they could kind of fit in like any era, like very, very classic looking. Some famous Capricorn risings are Joan Jett, Dakota Johnson, Ariana Grande, Susan Sarandon, who is also a Capricorn moon, Tom Selleck, and I feel like Richard in Friends, who he plays, would also be a Capricorn rising. Zooey Deschanel, Barry White, and Robbie Coltrane. And that is all I have for you for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching on YouTube. Please, if you have enjoyed this video and you've got this far, please give the video a like. It really, really helps to push the content out, and it gives me a little ego boost as well. You know, one of those like, it feels like I'm making the videos for someone other than myself if you give the video a like, and if you would like to subscribe to the channel, please do, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.